Getting on. Yes. Move this so I can see all your beautiful faces. Hello, Mom. Nice to see you. How's everybody today? Everybody good? Have you been nice to your staff?
Oh, yeah.
Good. That's the reason we all have a good time. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steve Blum, and I'm a voice actor from LA. And I've been doing anime for 20 years, I think, and video games and original animation, pretty much anything anybody will hire me for. Fountain tire spots, if you've heard those here. And nobody hears those back home, so it's really kind of fun to come to your land. I haven't been back to Vancouver in a really long time, and I won't get to see any of it this time other than right here. But I know, it makes me really sad. I love your city. It's beautiful. Kind of what, is it raining?
Yes.
Oh.
Nothing new.
Surprise.
I've been outside, I don't know. I don't even know what it looks like anymore. But anyway, it's great to be back in Vancouver, and really great to meet all of you. I think I've met most of you already, right? Yeah, pretty good. It's pretty good. So I think we'll just leave this kind of casual, and if you have some burning questions, just come on up and maybe we'll just start a... Do we have a microphone to go around the room?
There's the one next to you. That one.
This one?
Yeah.
Point it out there. Yeah, if you guys want to just form a line in the center and then just ask your questions, and I'll try to repeat them if you can't hear in the back. And, oh yeah, that's... Can we release that, or is that...
Taped down.
It's taped down.
Oh, it doesn't.
Yeah, well, maybe if we can we point it out?
Can you move the podium?
Let's rearrange the whole room.
Play music on podium.
There we go. We have the technology. Yay! Staff comes through again. All right, so come on up. Don't be shy, and ask your burning question.
Go ahead.
You
first.
Okay. Very cool.
Oh, so I'm Kat back today.
Yeah, Kappa.
Hi. So first of all, congrats on being in the Guinness Book of World Records. I read your Wikipedia, and of course you knew that. But congratulations for those who don't know.
I have no short-term memory.
He's in the Guinness Book of World Records for doing the most voices in video games, I think, like ever.
Yes.
So that's awesome. I'm a big fan of Doc McStuffins.
Oh, I love that stuff.
And I just wondered how your experience doing the voice for Commander Crush was on that show.
Well, I got to do a couple characters on that show. I did Commander Crush for the Christmas special, right?
Oh, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
Christmas special.
And that was great. And I also got to play a singing kangaroo with the battling kangaroos with an Australian accent, opposite Rob Paulson, who was the voice of Pinky from Pinky and the Brain, and a million other things. He was one of the Animaniacs, Yakko from Animaniacs, and I got to sing with him, and I never sing, so that was awesome. But just for a guy like me who's used to doing, big creatures and gnarly villains and stuff like that, I got to go in and say, I feel better, so much better. It was awesome. Yeah, I love doing things for little kids too, and I started out in voiceover, going to my kids' schools and reading stories for them once a week, and learning how to do voice work by having a bunch of elementary school kids say, no, Mr. Blum, that sucked, do it again. So to actually do something that kids can watch is really great. When my kids were little, I was doing all these shows that they weren't allowed to see, so it's really fun for me. So thank you for that question. Yeah, it's okay. Hello, sir.
So as everyone knows, you have a reputation for playing big villains and
flags. I have a big appetite for evil.
I'm wondering if you enjoy those roles as much as the ones where you don't get to be as much of a bad character or antagonist.
Oh, playing bad guys are fun. I love doing that. And we used to joke around on Transformers Prime. I played Starscream on that show, and the guy who played Megatron, Frank Welker, who's one of my voice all-time god heroes, Frank and I used to call each other the Naughty Cons. And we behaved very badly in that room, but it's really fun to play bad guys. It's if I didn't, I'd probably be a much meaner person because I get to let it out in a healthy way. It's pretty cool. And you know, in LA we have a lot of traffic too, so it takes me sometimes an hour, 2 hours to get to a session. And I'm in my car just full of angst, and I get to the studio and I get to go, ah! And then afterwards, besides the blood that's dripping down my throat, I feel a lot better. So, yeah, it's all fun to play. The good guys are fun to play, the bad guys are fun to play. And a lot of it depends on the mood of the day, too. Sometimes it's hard to be a good guy, because I'm not feeling it, but that's what acting is. So. Hello.
Hi. First of all, I loved your voice as a Starscream in Transformers Prime.
Thank you, call me Lord.
Okay, Lord Bloom.
Lord Steve. Wow, that just sounds weird.
A couple of your Starscream predecessors, Chris Latta, Charlie Adler.
Yes.
They both voiced another Hasbro villain. So I was just wondering, how come you haven't yet voiced Cobra Commander?
It's an interesting question. Well, first of all, they do it so well. Charlie is one of my dear, dear friends, and it was funny because I just went in to do I crashed an audition that some of my other buddies were at for the voice of Dr. Doom, not Dr. Doom, Cobra Commander, sorry. Similar, actually sort of similar. And the first thing I did when I walked in the room, I said, well, has Charlie read for it? And because we're all friends, we refer each other, and if I think that somebody does a voice better than I do, I'm going to refer them for it. Even if I don't think they're going to do it better, but a different version of it and do it well, I'll still refer my friends. We're just like that in the voice community. So, and for Cobra Commander, when my friends asked me to come in, I didn't even know what I was reading for. I crashed the audition. I happened to be down the street recording something else. I think it was for the show Community or something. They were doing an animated thing or something. Yeah, and I came in to read for that, and the casting director was upset that I was crashing the audition in the first place. And I said, well, this is Cobra Commander. It really should be Charlie. I mean, I love everybody else in this room, but that's his role. I mean, nobody can do it better than him. So we all have our different take on things. It's sort of the same way for Batman. I mean, Kevin Conroy is my favorite Batman, but there have been a lot of other incarnations of that character that I loved. So it's just what's right for the show at the time. But I mean, if you're going to go back to an old school look, he's my man. So, thank you. Hi.
Hi. So I was just wondering about, obviously you have, there's a lot of obviously's today, but obviously you're amazing. But,
no, you.
No. Anyway, obviously you have a really great reputation for amazing characters like Spike and, all the other unmentionables that I won't go on, otherwise we'll be here all night.
There's a lot of unmentionables.
So, yeah. So you built up this great reputation for yourself with all these amazing characters, and I was just wondering, if you, to get to this point, if you really had to pick and choose, were there certain auditions where you're like, oh, I don't really want to, because that, if it was kind of a lesser show, I don't want to, the other actors, but a Barbie show or something like that, would you turn those down in hopes that you would get something better, or, how did you get to this point rather than being one of the lower tier voice actors who don't do quite as much big stuff that's, as loved by the fans?
I got to this point by saying yes all the time. I mean, I literally said yes to everything that came through, unless it was a non-union show that I wasn't allowed to work on. Yeah, I love to work, and for me, working on something like a Barbie show, I would love that. I mean, getting to work on Doc McStuffins, people ask, oh God, is that, did you like doing that? I love it. I love it. I love to work on My Little Pony. I love to work, and it's all my friends in the room working with them, and to me, there are no lesser shows, unless the writing is just terrible or something. But as an actor, it's my job to sort of improve that in the room if I can, and try to make it the best show I possibly can. So some of my favorite roles have been completely unrecognizable things, or things that have sort of gone under the radar. I was just talking with Rory, where'd you go? About a show called Witch that we did years ago. And very few people saw Witch. I guess it broadcast here, and maybe you guys had a better time slot.
It's got kind of a cult following now, I think.
Which is really cool. And it was huge in Europe, but in the States they put it on at really weird hours of the morning, 5, 6 in the morning on, Tuesday or something, I don't know. And so nobody tuned into that show. And I had this little character called Blunk who had a few lines here and there on the show. But I loved working on that show. I loved doing all the ancillary characters. I did a ton of other little tiny characters that nobody will ever know I did. And those to me are just as meaningful and important as the big characters. And I try to, just do something so it'll help lift the show a little bit higher. And
Grace it with your presence?
Pardon me? No.
Grace the show with your presence?
No, but my whole philosophy is really just to do the best job I can with what I have to work with. And for the aspiring voice actors out there, I would suggest that you do that too. And the audition is also just as important as doing the role once you're getting paid for it. And you have to do it for the love, and you have to do it to try to make the show the best it can possibly be. And so that philosophy has served me very well, and that's what's gotten me to this point, is being willing and to have as much passion to do the small roles as I do for the big ones.
So is your next goal the next Barbie foot?
Absolutely.
Welcoming Barbie Sven Carly. Hi guys.
I would be honored to be part of it.
Thanks so much.
And I don't have to be Ken either.
Evil Ken.
Hey, evil Ken. Wow. Ken gone wrong. Ken's gone wild.
Hi.
Hello again, my friend.
I'm surprised no one's mentioned how iconic you were as Orochimaru.
Orochimaru.
Yeah, you recall my posing. Would you be up for portraying the serpent from the Adam and Eve story in Orochimaru's voice?
The serpent from Adam and Eve in Orochimaru's voice?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I think that's iconic.
Yes.
So.
Come and take a bite of my apple. Yeah. Yeah, man, that would really screw up the Bible, wouldn't it?
Or make it better.
What are the chances of Disney picking up my idea?
I cannot answer on Disney's behalf. I wouldn't even try.
If they reject it, I can finance the idea myself.
There you go. Kickstarter, baby.
Yes, spread the word to your buddy Jeff Nimoy, who's the cousin once removed of Leonard Nimoy. He's an iconic, he'd be iconic as God, because Morgan Freeman's kind of overused.
You take that back.
You want Jeff as God or Leonard as God?
Well, Leonard isn't getting any younger, so if you can get a hold of Leonard, great. If not, Jeff's just awesome.
Can you imagine Leonard Nimoy as the voice of God? I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Or Jeff. Yeah, Jeff, if you're watching this, you'd be God to me. You are God to me.
Just have Steve do everything, including the female characters, especially the female characters.
She'll be Barbie.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
A whole show where you just voice everything.
Yeah. I've done that before. I actually did that once before. That's actually kind of a funny story. I did this. Have we got time? Have you got a second? Okay. One of my friends was doing this really crazy Chinese kung fu sort of movie. It was called Her Name is Cat. I don't know if it's available out there. It was on VHS back then, so I don't even know. But he had no budget to do the movie, and all he wanted to do was the action figure. And she was this beautiful Asian rock star killer character. It was amazing. She was a great action figure. He just wanted to find a way to market the action figure. So he had this movie that was Chinese, and he wanted it dubbed into English and had no budget. So I literally played all of the male roles in the movie. Dubbing them from Chinese to English. It was terrible. and none of us got paid. I had a couple of my female friends divide up all the female roles, and they did a great job. And it came out okay, actually. But watching it now, it's like, oh, why? But if you ever get a chance, look up Her Name is Cat. Nobody's seen this thing, trust me. So, anyway.
Hey, awesome.
Thank you.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
I really loved you as Guilmon and Digimon. I feel like that's one of your lesser known roles.
Oh, thank you. Everybody seems to know Guilmon here. Back home, they kind of forget.
And as grunts, the lizard men, they get me feeling right for you.
I am Krogan.
I clarified 2 hands.
That's okay.
That was beautiful.
I don't have opposable thumbs either, so.
I have a question. Do you have any tips for people trying to get into the industry? Like, any helpful hints or
Yes.
funny anecdotes?
Go to my website. I get asked this a lot, and it's a very, very long conversation because the tips that I have take a while to explain. So if you go to my website, it's steveblumvoices.com. There's a button that says, how do I become a voice actor? And I kind of give a one-page overview of my take on the industry. And then I link it to D. Bradley Baker. Are you guys familiar with his work? He's a brilliant voice actor. And D has this amazing analytical mind, and he's just been collecting information through the years from people who asked that question. And he put together a blog called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com. So there's a link on my page to that, and I would suggest reading that through. And there's also a book by Yuri Lowenthal and Tara Platt. Yuri is Ben 10, for those of you who don't know, and many, many other things. Yeah, it's amazing, amazing careers that these guys have, and they're continuing to work. And they put together a ton of information that would cost you tens of thousands of dollars if you went to voice classes. And it will save you a lot of time and money and really get you on the right path to do this work. And it takes a lot of time. You have to be very patient. 2 things I would say, pieces of advice: be very, very patient, and do it because you love to do it, not for the money or the fame. And then you'll never be disappointed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve.
Very welcome. Hey.
Hello, Steve.
Hi.
I was just wondering, I'm hoping that other people have played this game, but it's Valkyria Chronicles. Is that it? And,
see? People have seen it. Okay, good.
I was just wondering, what was it like to work with the other voice actors in the game? And
I wouldn't know because we worked alone. Yeah, on a lot of video games and virtually all of anime, we work alone in the booth, and so they seclude us probably for to protecting the other virtue of the actors. No, that's not. Has nothing to do with that, but you have to isolate the characters, especially on games like that, because we are going to original animation from animation that originates in another country, and we've got to kind of lock up to that. So if you have a group of actors who act like 5-year-olds in the studio, we never get it done. We all know each other, we're all friends, and we misbehave terribly. So, and that's very technical work sometimes, especially for matching lip flaps, like in anime, or in the case of that game, I think we did some of that too. It's a very technical process to do that, and we have to be very focused. So I never get to, I don't even know who else was in the game, except for what I saw on the credits list. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for playing.
I'm a huge fan of your video game work,
Thank
but
you.
I just wanted to bring up Bulletstorm.
Oh, nice.
Because I don't know if anybody's played that, but it is like a pure, like constant stream of profanity throughout this entire game.
I can't say one word from that game.
Well, I was going to ask, was there any, I mean, I know it's been a while, you obviously do tons of stuff, but is there any lines in that game that you either A, had troubles with because there was so much, or ones that stand out in your mind still that you're like, I can't believe they wrote that line, and I can't believe I voiced that?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. Well, I'm not offended by anything, so the fouler they could get, the better it was for me. And
you really owned it.
Yeah, I don't know if they had a marketing campaign here like they did in the States, but basically we had a campaign in the States where I abused the players into buying the game. Did you have that here?
I don't think so.
I would call it. They would have these commercials, and I would come on as Grayson Hunt, and I would say, get off your mom's couch and take some money out of her purse and go buy the game. But I would also call them names which refer to a part of a man's anatomy and a part of a woman's anatomy that were put together into one word, which I can't say in the...
Oh, yeah, we had a couple of those.
Okay, so
yeah.
that I was so proud of that. I had never seen anything like that done before. It was hilarious. It was really hilarious, and it worked for the ad campaign. It was just kind of a free-for-all. That game was a free-for-all, but it was also a really good game.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like it was underappreciated, I think that kind of level of profanity might have been a bit too much of a barrier of entry for people, but
Maybe.
when you actually got into it, it was hilarious.
Yeah, it's sort of liberating. You go into your room and you play for 12 hours and you come back out in the world. You don't have to cuss at all. Thank you. Hi.
Hey.
And sorry, moms and dads in here.
And brings along a follow-up question. I'm trying a real question. Anyways,
Does it feel dirty? Everybody feels dirty.
Anyway, I'm wearing a trench coat.
I know. Don't open it. After hours panel only.
When is that? No, I don't know. At any rate, first and foremost, thanks for lending your delicious voice to everything. Anybody you talk to, that's how I describe it.
Nice.
And furthermore, I was going to say, for getting into voice acting and all that good stuff, I mean, you've been doing it for ages. And you being an actor, it's something I've thought about. But did you ever do any just straight up acting before getting into it, or since? Like, you just strictly went into voice and that was it?
Yeah, I had no prior training. I was thinking at first that I was going to be a musician. I was playing in an R&B band during the 80s when it was all heavy metal. In fact, we were opening for heavy metal acts. Well, it actually went well and it went terribly all at the same time. We'd open up for bands. There's a band called Double D Nose, and we were opening up for bands like Whitesnake and some of these crazy bands who were just getting started back then. But we were a 15-piece R&B stage band with horn section and background vocals and doing steps on stage and spandex. It was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. So I thought I was going to do that, and then I thought I was going to be pre-med, and I wasn't very good at the science part of it, the mathematics. That kind of took me right out of that. Yeah. And I held a ton of other careers while I was doing voiceover.
As we all have to.
Yeah, I mean, I got into it very accidentally, and I worked my way up through a low-budget film company to an executive position. I was head of marketing at a film company, and traveling to the Cannes Film Festival and doing stuff, but I hated it because the people were all trying to kill each other in business, as they do in a lot of entertainment. Yeah. But in voiceover, I just found it to be a very friendly environment. Whether I didn't make a lot of money, I made very, very little money. Couldn't support myself on it for many years. So I had 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time to support that. But I learned how to act in the process of doing that, and just because I loved it so much, I just watched what other people were doing and absorbed as much as I could. So I didn't have any classical training, and since then I've been offered a lot of on-camera things, and I don't like to do it, because I don't like to wear makeup, I don't like to sit around for 14 hours to do 10 minutes of work. I'd rather just go in and do my job. I like to work, and I like to be behind the scenes. I don't want to be a face out there that, or lose my sense of privacy. I like to be able to go to the store, and nobody knows me. I'm here, and you guys know me for a few days, and I sort of feel like a rock star, and then I go home, and I'm just the guy taking out the trash and cleaning the cat box again. And I like that. I like to live a normal life. It's great. So I've done a few little on-camera cameos here and there for some really bad projects. And we just did a movie called I Know That Voice. I don't know if that's available here. Yeah, and so I did like a little spot on that. As myself, yeah. We're all just talking about the business, and it's like all the guys and girls who've been working in voiceover for the last 50 years. They even have Gene Foray in it, and they've got some really brilliant classic voice actors in this thing. Rob Paulson, Maurice LaMarche, a lot of these guys. Billy West is in it. It's fantastic. And so that I did a cameo in that, and I talked about the business. And so for that, it's a little bit easier. Yeah. I did a little cameo in a terrible movie called Apocalypse Kiss, and with DC Douglas. He's a great friend of mine, and he played the serial killer in this thing. You guys know DC Douglas? He's crazy. He's so funny. But I'm working with him on a show called Rescue Bots, and DC asked me if I would do a little cameo in this thing. I haven't seen it. He told me that it's not that good, but it's in the production value, and it is really great. Apparently, it's one of these Kickstarter things.
But sometimes it's just as nice.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe it is good. I don't know. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. But I did a little cameo in that, and for me to memorize, it was like 10 lines of dialogue. For me to memorize that put me through so much stress. I think I sweat through 3 sets of clothes.
Yeah, because you just did that.
I'm not used to doing that. It's just a muscle I don't use. So I really have no interest in being a superstar. I don't care about that. I like to do really good work, and I care about the projects.
And you're still a superstar anyways.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Hello, Steve. How are you? You look awesome.
Thanks. There's so many video games where I recognize your voice. I say, oh, that guy, the guard from Uncharted, that's Steve Blum. And also one of the mechanized patients in that Bioshock.
Yes.
It says terribly, terribly racist things.
Yes, you did. I apologize for that.
It was kind of hilarious.
But I did get destroyed, so.
Also, my question is, how do you handle something like a great teacher Onizuka, where Wendy Lee and you have to handle almost 70% of the cast?
Wow, that was a weird one. Have you guys seen Great Teacher Onizuka?
Yeah.
That was the craziest anime I've ever worked on because we didn't have a script. Usually, in anime, what they'll do is they'll take the original Japanese translation into English, which doesn't fit anything on screen, and we have to rewrite the script. It's called an ADR script. And I did that professionally. That was one of my jobs, to support myself in voiceover. I did that for Digimon and Trigun and some of the old great shows. And so I had a pretty good knowledge of how to do that quickly. So we didn't have a script, all we had was a translation. And we came into the room, and people like Wendy and I had to basically write every line for our character on the fly. We saw it on the screen, we sort of knew the context, and then I just had to write it to make sure it fit in. And I've never seen the show, so I was terrified to know if there was even any context left after we did that without anything to watch. As writers, we will watch the whole show. We'll agonize over the lines, and I would spend 40 hours on a 20-minute script. Here, it was literally on the fly. I was making him up as I made up that whole show. Everything that he said, I made up that whole show.
I'm surprised.
Well, thankfully, I guess it came out okay. And he was such an outlandish character that we get away with a lot. And so I'm glad it came out well. But yeah, that was quite the experience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yay! You look adorable.
Okay. I just had a question about not necessarily one of your like evil characters. I mean, he's just really kind of angry.
Yes.
Ogren from Dragon and Guilmon.
Yeah.
Belching take after belching take. How did you do that?
Kind of like that. When you're drunk, it sort of comes out. Oh, yeah.
That is so cool. I thought you had to drink like liter upon liter of soda or something.
Well, I did that outside just in case anybody asked the question.
No, Ogren was I stunt belch for other actors sometimes. So, and you know, I do all kinds of disgusting body sounds, vomiting. Yeah, I mean, I'm known for body sounds, so for me that's a very natural process. The problem was with Ogren, he belched so much that I ran out of gas sometimes and I would get the hiccups. And there was one day that I came in there and I had to do this gigantic belch, and it was right in the middle of a monologue, and I drank like 3 Diet Pepsis, and I belched so hard I threw up in my mouth. I loved working on Ogren, and the funny thing about working on that character was that they said the direction was usually more drunk. And they actually encouraged me to drink in the studio, which I didn't do. But they said maybe you should take a shot of something. He's just not slurring enough and finding enough. But I love that character. He was so much fun. And I think my favorite line, speaking of the gas from Ogren, my favorite line was "Fart me a lullaby."
Exactly. I used to have a button that said that on there.
It just doesn't get any better than that. And I have little kids. Well, I had little kids at the time. They're big kids now, but we all laughed at that stuff. I mean, farts are still funny. So.
Exactly. I mean, I'm almost 20 and I love fart humor.
Hey, yeah, me too. Hey, I'm over 50 and I still love fart humor. It's hilarious to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay for farts! Yay! Everybody does it. Don't be ashamed. Let's all fart together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Can you imagine that in a panel? This is a giant cloud.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
So I got 2 quick questions and 1 long one.
Okay.
What was the microphone you said yesterday that your son recently, that you're getting into voice acting for, has just gotten?
Oh, it's called an Apogee.
An Apogee?
Apogee. It's a USB mic, and it's made specifically for Apple products.
Okay, perfect.
And it's about $200. I should do commercials for them. Apogee, you owe me. Apogee. Or whoever's filming for YouTube, Apogee. I am your biggest supporter. It's an amazing microphone, though. It's about that big, and comes with a little tripod, and you plug it into an iPhone or an iPad, and you just get like a cheaper free editing app, and you can do auditions from your car, or any sound-treated thing. In my hotel room, I make a little pillow for it, and I stick the microphone in there, and I record my auditions. And I've used it before for broadcast stuff. I've had to send stuff to do like a pickup line for a show, or a couple lines for Toonami.
Okay.
And and they're really great mics.
Okay,
really great mics. And it's not a huge investment for somebody just getting started.
My unorthodox question that I've been asking all the celebrities is, have you ever had a role that you turned down but later regretted, or possibly wish that you could have done?
No, because I don't turn down anything because I'm a voice for. No, the only role that I turned down ever was a role that I didn't know what I was getting into when I walked into the room. They just called it Project X. It was an anime, and I walked in, and they said, "You're this big monster with tentacles."
Oh, God.
And I had never seen a hentai before. I didn't know what it was. So I start out as, this really gross creature, and I thought, this is kind of fun, and then all of a sudden there's this little schoolgirl, and then all of a sudden the monster's attacking the schoolgirl, and then all of a sudden there's cameras inside, and it's like, oh my god. And so I got up and I apologized, and I said, you know, I can't do this. I just can't do it. And it was, that's not my thing. So I walked out and I gave them the money back. Or they didn't even pay me yet. I just ripped up the contract and I walked out. But I won't do that kind of thing.
No, fair enough.
But I don't have any regrets, honestly. You know, even the jobs that I really would have loved to get and I didn't, I have no regrets. You know, I've gotten to play so many amazing characters. And if I didn't get it, one of my really good friends did. And so I'm happy that it might have helped their career. In fact, one of my buddies just sent me a thing the other day, some auditions that he was reading for, and it had samples from stuff that I had done. It was for a video game, some soldier. And he said, A, I can't do that voice, but B, why are they recasting you?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the reason is that they're recasting me, but what I do know is that one of my friends will get the role. So I don't care. It's all good, and that's what I love about the voiceover community is that we all support each other.
My last quick one is, could you do your best impersonation of Peter Cullen?
Oh, God. I can't do an impression of Peter. God.
The best Optimus Prime you could do.
Transform and roll out.
Thank you. I saw Peter I'm working with him right now on a show called Transformers Rescue Bots. And Peter is working on the show too. We're back together again. And we don't get to work together in the same room, but we really bonded on Transformers Prime. And I told him that whenever I describe him, I always say that he's this really dapper, sweet-looking man who can unhinge his jaw and release this gigantic vibratory sound that it literally vibrates the whole room when he speaks. It's uncanny. It's really an uncanny experience to be next to him in the booth.
Hello.
Hi.
May I make a request?
Sure.
Another Dragon Age related thing. Can I hear Organ Crafts, fine Organ Crafts? Remember?
Is Ogren?
Yes.
Oh.
No, not Ogren. Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember what he sounded like.
Well, that's okay.
Was he like a Barker kind of older man? Dwarf and Crafts.
No.
That sort of, no?
Never mind.
I'll just go through all of my voices.
Do it,
Except for
do
the
it.
Barbie voice, I haven't worked that out.
My question was, are there any notable voice actors that you sometimes just hang out with, like go for a beer and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, like everybody I can. We're all friends in the industry. I keep mentioning with Rescue Bots, we've become like a little family. And we used to do that with Transformers Prime when we were working on that show. We'd go out to dinner together, we'd support each other if one of us was doing a play, that sort of thing. After almost every session of Rescue Bots, we all go out for food. And it's really great to have that kind of community and working with people that I love, and that really makes it fun. And Rob Paulson talks about this all the time. He does these podcasts, and he says it's really great, A, to get to do professionally what you used to get in trouble for in school, and B, to get to work with your best friends every day. And that's the way it is in the industry. It's wonderful. 5-minute warning already? Wow, that went fast.
Well, I have one quick request.
Okay.
I love Vincent Valentine.
Okay.
And
nice, me too.
Could you do a quick voice?
Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
Anybody know where I can buy a phone?
Thank you so much, Steve. You're awesome.
You're welcome.
Hi.
I got the stigma.
Hi.
First of all, I just wanted to say, I love what you've done in voice acting, especially as the fabulous Orochimaru and Vincent Valentine.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I was curious, where did you get your passion for voice acting?
I loved cartoons when I was a little kid, and I've been doing silly voices since I was very young. I think the first time that I really realized that I could do voices, I left a message on my outgoing answering machine on the tape, back when we used tape and the answering machines, as Goofy. And, it was just a silly impression. It was, or Steve on here, leave a message. That kind of thing. And I got a wrong number. Somebody had called accidentally, and they heard the message, and I hear them laughing. And all of a sudden, I just hear in the background, you gotta hear this, man. And I get another call from their friend who was in the room, and then another call, and another call. And so I'm getting all these these calls from people I've never met before, and they're saying, all right, man, well, we like Goofy, but change it up, do something different. And so I literally would change my message every week. I put a different message on there, and all these random strangers would be calling me. And this was 10 years before I started doing voice acting. I had regular jobs. I was doing something else completely, and I never thought that would turn into a career. But I've been doing stupid voices since I was really little, so it's the perfect job for me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Very well.
That's good. My question is, your very first role with the Transformer was Darkstream Wars.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
It was way back.
Oh, back to almost 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, how did you react when you're like your Transformer?
I had a little fangirl moment. As I'm sure any of you real Transformers fans would.
Could you reenact it?
My Transformers moment?
Your fangirl moment.
Yeah, I think I did that. I did it silently, but I kind of turned around. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I still have that reaction. When I got to work on Prime, I had to go and have a moment by myself and the restroom because I'm working with Megatron and Optimus Prime. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi.
Hello again.
Hello again.
So I know you do roles that are more mature and kind of more serious, like Clive Barker's Jericho's Transformers Prime, as well as playing him on Legend of Korra.
Yes.
And then you also do more lighthearted and silly roles, such as Transformers Rescue Bots.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering, if you have like two projects kind of at the same time, is it a hard transition to go from serious to silly at all? No?
Sometimes I have to do that in the same show with characters who are talking to each other. No, to be a successful voice actor, I think requires that weirdness in your head with that ability to really be kind of bipolar in the moment. It's something that takes a while to separate that out. The hard part for me in the beginning was to know what was going to come out before I opened my mouth, and to be able to process that in the brain before it happened. But I love doing that. And I had one day where I did a session as Wolverine in the morning, and then I come into a studio to do a show called Burn Logon. You guys see that?
My favorite character called Guilmon, who said things like, when you screw it in, give it a hard manly twist.
I did those two characters an hour apart. And if you can't separate that into your head, you're not going to keep working. So yeah, you have to be able to develop that skill.
Also, I just want to say I love Heatwave on Transformers Rescue Bots. He's amazing.
Thank you.
Favorite characters.
Roll to the rescue. Nice, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
So I was just curious, because when you're recording, you're alone. Is it difficult not to have a scene partner to react off of, or?
Well, I started in anime. For the first 10 years, I didn't work with anybody else. So for me, that's all I knew. It was my home and it's my comfort zone. So I still go back to anime sessions now, and a lot of people that are just starting out get kind of tripped up with all the technicality of it. You know, looking at the screen and matching your lips, and looking at the director and reading the script all at the same time, juggling all those things at once, and not having anybody to play off of. But that's where I cut my teeth. I didn't know any better. So when I got to work with the cast, I went, whoa, this is fun. It's a whole different thing. And we could kind of go wild. We didn't have to adhere to what's going on the screen. We could just play. And it was like a radio show. So just two very different animals. And I love them both for different reasons. And I have a really good imagination. So, it kind of unleashes that 5-year-old in me to do a scene where I don't have a partner. I have to imagine everything that they would say or do. And often without the luxury of knowing who's even going to play that role. So I can't even plug one of my friends' faces in there. So you just have to use your imagination. That's the beauty of doing that kind of work. It's playtime again. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, so between two of my favorite shows, Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, which one did you have more fun doing, Spike or Mugen?
Oh, God. They were both really fun in different ways. Spike, I was probably more terrified. Yeah. I mean, this was a huge show. It was a huge show, and I knew that I was playing a lead role, but I didn't know much else about it. They just told me it was really big in Japan. It'll probably be pretty big everywhere else. But they wouldn't even let me watch the episodes in advance.
Really?
So I had no idea, and I was scared all the time. But I was working with the fantastic director, Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, and she would support me so well. She knew the whole arc of everything, and I just felt like I had a really soft place to land. And to the point where every scene that he had a cigarette in his mouth, she would bring a cigarette for me. And I would pretend to be smoking it through the scene. I would have it in my mouth just for realism. And by the end of the thing, I was so nervous, you'd just see flakes of the tobacco all over the floor. I was scared. And once I got to do shampoo, that was more of a technical thing. A lot of the Japanese clients were there, and they would just want to dial me in. They had very specific ways of doing things. So it was a much more structured type of environment, but I was much more seasoned by that time. So the fear level wasn't quite as bad. I think I only beat myself once.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, hello, Steve.
Hi.
I'm going to try to multitask here. You're in a zombie apocalypse, and you can only choose one person that you voice to fight by your side. Who you choose and why?
Good question.
Oh, wow. Leron. Because the zombies would just be in fear and run away.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. No, thank you. And thank you guys so much for having me here. And if I haven't met you, I'll make sure we do one more? All right, one more quick question.
So, the creators of Bebop have come out with a new show, Space Dandy.
Yes.
And have you seen any of it, and would you like to maybe do a role on it?
I would love to work on Space Dandy, but unfortunately it's done in Texas. And so it's a right-to-work state where they don't abide by union rules. So I'm not allowed to work on it. It's a non-union show. But we are showing it on Toonami in the States. And so I get to announce Space Dandy every week. So, yeah, I'll still push the show. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys for having me.